Okay, now hopefully this is the last video. Now but we still have 12 shows left. Two that were not part of the initial list. I think three actually that were not part of the initial list, but I had added in at the last second because they ended during the winter season. So in any case, let's jump in. If we need to split up the video, we will, but let's see if that happens. First, we have In the Clear Moonlit Dusk. This is, I believe, a shoujo romance series about a girl who's about a very princely girl. Didn't hear anybody talking about it. I saw the manga. I've been seeing the manga at the bookstore I go to for years. So, yeah, let's see how it goes. All right, there we go. There's my surprise finish for the season. Just finished up In the Clear Moonlit Dusk. A title that does not describe this anime at all, but sounds cool. Man, I can't believe we got two solid shoujo romances this season. We got two. Normally we get like one a year at most, and we got two in a season. That's so cool. So yeah, this one pretty much flew under everyone's radar. Because there's really no one important attached to it. Because I think wasn't Yamada-kun at level 999 directed by Morio Asaka? I think he did that. And then Tamon's B-side had some big clips that blew up over the course of the season. And it also had like idol stuff in it too. This is just a straightforward shoujo romance from a typically not good studio. This is actually it's not the first show that I finished from. It's the first TV series that I finished from this studio. The only other show I finished from them is the Mirage Queen OVA, and even then, that one was not especially good looking. This is East Fish Studio, I believe. They also did Kaya-chan Isn't Scary this season, which, if you'll recall from last episode, I said was possibly one of the worst looking shows of the season. And that's typically the case with this studio, but not so much here. There's definitely still some jank every now and then, some compositing issues, some wonky character designs, but on the whole, it's pretty solid looking. This is pretty solid color design, really solid character designs in the sense of both of the main characters are very hot. The romantic scenes are very romantic and hot. Yeah. Not a lot else to say visually, to be honest. Was it this Yeah, it was this show where it had like it had one really cool directing moment in it, or I guess one transition moment in it, where it was like an outside like wide shot of a character. I think it was Yoi walking through the hallways, and then like the windows of the school on the outside turned into like a film reel for like a flashback thing and the film reel just started like moving backwards. I was like, okay, that's cool. That's a cool little trick there. But yeah, this one, most of the stuff to talk about is in the narrative elements. Although I will say they did definitely nail for Yoi being what do you call it? The handsome lady of this show. They did definitely nail that aspect of her. She is, in terms of like female character designs, yes, I would 100% use the word handsome to describe her. And there were a lot of shots in this where I was like, okay, yeah, she does kind of look like a boy in this shot. So here, another shoujo rom-com in the pile of atypical looking shoujo protagonist. You love to see him. Yeah, I actually see, I think I mentioned this in the intro, but I've seen this one at the bookstore a lot, and I looked at the art, and I wasn't a fan of it. The art for the manga did not catch my attention at a glance. But I think the anime really conveys the ideas that it wants to convey of Yoi-san, Yoi being very handsome, but also having this surprisingly cute side to her. And also, I am immediately forgetting names. This is just my life now, where I immediately forget the names of every single character that I just watched, even though I spent 12 whole episodes with that character whose name is... Did not time that right. Yeah, Ichimura. Yes. I am just completely losing it when it comes to names. It's just not sticking anymore. So, yeah, that. I guess that's just gonna be a thing now. But, yes. Really liked his design a lot. Kind of reminded me of, if I recall correctly, it reminded me a little bit of the guy from A Sign of Affection, just in terms of body structure and stuff. He tall. He very tall. Like, there, I noticed more than one instance of Yoi standing on a step, and sometimes 2 steps, and Ichimura still being taller than her, despite her being taller than the other, slightly taller than the other girls in her class, it seems like. So he big, and they definitely use that to advantage in some of the more romantic scenes. But yeah, I found this one very charming and very fun and very romantic. It's pretty straightforward in terms of how we are getting into the relationship. By the way, we do spend the majority of this series with them in some kind of relationship one way or another. So if that's on your if that's on your must-have list for rom-coms nowadays, there you go. I don't think that's necessary for me personally, but it is certainly a plus to have. And so we spend a lot of this series with them in a relationship, and both of them, well, what Yoi being someone who has never had a relationship before, and also has never even had a boy confess to her before, or express any interest in liking her before, and so she basically has no concept of dating whatsoever, versus Ichimura, who is essentially kind of a playboy and just like flirts around with all of the girls and just has a rotating cast of girlfriends that he cycles through, and just really never sticks with anyone in particular because he doesn't really see them that way. And also a lot of people, he has had a lot of bad experiences with people dating him solely because to use him as a status symbol, and so that sort of made him a lot more cynical about relationships, thus making him way more interested in Yoi, who just sort of treats him as any other guy instead of someone who's like this handsome rich guy. So we have these conflicting views on relationships, with Yoi coming in with this very uber strict kind of mentality to how she wants the relationship to progress. Paper contract at all. Whereas Ichimura is just sort of just like let's just go do things. So the contrast there was very fun. And also that lends to most of the drama in this series of them not really fully understanding each other and what they want out of each other sometimes. There were also some moments where it was just like, they, I believe for the most part, avoid like misunderstandings drama on the whole, because like the big dramatic moments more so come from like actual problems with how they talk to each other in their relationship, with Yoi having massive self-esteem issues, and Ichimura having a bit of a jealous streak, kind of being a little bit toxic, and blurting out things that he doesn't necessarily mean as a result of that more toxic side of him. But then him immediately realizing that he is fucked up and doing his best to remedy that situation. There is a tremendous amount of communication happening in this show. It's just a matter of whether or not someone is being a dick at any given point, or if if Ichimura is being a dick at any given point, or if Yoi-san is being if Yoi is just being too shy or too reserved. And there was like a metaphor about like it's fine to like test the stone bridge, but if you keep tapping on it, it might collapse beneath you. And sometimes it's just sort of having to go for it. This is a series about meeting people halfway in relationships, and like recognizing that not everything is going to go the way that you want it to, and so you just sort of have to, there has to be some kind of give to it all. I will say the most frustrating thing about this one, if I had to say like there were some frustrating moments, is a lot of side character interference, a lot of people showing up mid important speech and just derailing a conversation, which like, yeah, that happens in real life, but it's still frustrating. I'm not necessarily saying that's like a point off for it or anything or whatever, but like there is an non-insignificant amount of that. But fortunately, those characters are like fine for the most part. They're not particularly interesting. They all feel like they're assigned tropey roles. We have Yoi's two friends whose names I don't even remember. And one of them's drawing yaoi at one point. So, artist Fred, and I don't even know what the other one does. They're the friend characters who help out Yoi in any given situation. And then we have Sentaro and Kua, I think. are Ichimura's friends, Sentaro being the wacky idiot who does most of the interrupting, it seems. And Kua being the guy who is immediately clocking how Ichimura is changing in response to his pursuit of Yoi and how he interacts in a relationship with her, and just sort of chiming in every now and then to be like, "Hey, how you doing, man? Maybe you should do this and not this. Maybe you should just like do that." So good on him for that. We finally had a Kenjiro Tsuda performance that I didn't clock immediately. He plays Yoi's dad in this, apparently. I'm sure if I went back and listened to it again, I might hear it. But he doesn't really have a lot of lines, so I guess I could see that. But also, there was one very funny moment with him where it's like, Ichimura walks into the shop that he runs, and Yoi is just sort of like stopped dead in her tracks by him walking in because she's just so enamored with him. And you just hear the dad go, I'm like, man, okay. Dad clocked that immediately and was like, okay then, I see where this is going. Good luck. So, he was fun. The rival love interest was not hateable, but I did get a lot of satisfaction from him screwing up, I guess, or just not getting his way, because he's definitely a guy who's putting his nose where it should belong a lot of time, where it doesn't belong a lot of times, and causing other people problems because of that. But I guess in the end it does end up strengthening Yoi and Ichimura's relationship. So, good for him, I guess. Yeah, this was really fun shoujo romance series. I don't necessarily need more. I wouldn't turn down more, but like we did get a pretty solid like A to B romance plot that wasn't just about getting into the relationship. It was mostly about figuring out how to interact within that relationship, how far boundaries can be pushed, and how to properly interact with the person that you are crushing on. And just sort of testing out, like, hey, feeling out boundaries and how to talk to people, I guess. Very fun. Would definitely recommend it if you are craving shoujo romances. It's not necessarily a rom-com per se. There are comedy moments in it, but it's not super wacky to any extent. It's just emphasis on the romance in this one, which is good because the romance is good. I like the characters engaging in the romance. Is good stuff. I think I completely forgot to mention that another reason this show sort of got passed over is because it got like a debuff almost immediately after episode 1 aired, where people were disappointed that the handsome girl was not a lesbian. And I'm like, hey, handsome girls can like guys too. They don't have to just be lesbians. Sometimes Yuri fans can get a little off their rocker. But anyway, in the clear, Moonlit Dusk is complete. And where did I say? I'm going to put you in the number 9 spot with a decent 7. Fun times. Dang, we got 2 solid shoujo romances this season. We eatin' good. Alright. What do we got next? Oh. Okay. Scarlet. This was a movie that I actively did not go to see in theaters because it looked bad. But the torrents are out already. So, I guess we'll check out to see if Mamoru Hosoda is as cooked as I think he is. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the most Unreal Engine anime film of all time. Oh, I got through like less than 6 minutes of this movie. It's bad. It looks bad. It's not pleasant to look at. It's detailed. There's a lot of detail, and there is certainly a direction that the art is being given, but it's bad. It's just kind of gross, and also not very expressive. Like, there's multiple shots of her like screaming, of the main character screaming as she's being dragged into the underworld or something in this opening bit. And it's really bad, like, character acting with her facial expressions. It's bad. Yeah. I didn't even get into the actual meat of this film. I knew it was going to be bad. Why am I even... But for the sake of completion of this season, I put it on here. Hosoda is cooked. If this is the images that he wants to put out, man, what the heck. Also, she looks like almost exactly like the internet persona of the girl from the last movie he did. Fucking, Belle. Like, the character designs are shockingly similar. Which is not something that I've really ever seen Hosoda be accused of. He's never really been accused of recycling character designs. Until now. The dragon looked really dumb and bad. It's just bad. You don't need me to tell you that Scarlet's bad. It's bad. Okay, we're not going to waste any more time with that. Scarlet, off the list. Next. 'Tis time for Torture Princess Season 2. I liked the first season of this. Very funny, very fun, solid animation work. I do wonder if it has the longevity to do like 2 full seasons worth of stuff to see if the joke gets old or not. But I guess we're about to find out. Yeah, I was afraid that was going to happen, but the joke did, in fact, get repetitive. I got 9 episodes into 'Tis Time for Torture Princess Season 2. 3/4 through the new season, so it was basically I was like, might as well just finish it maybe, but also I was only holding out, really, for the reunion between the princess and Sakura, the assassin character who tried to kill her in a previous encounter. And boy, I don't know what I was expecting from that reunion, but it really was just kind of nothing. It was like exactly what you thought it would be. It really wasn't even all that heartwarming when the princess forgave her. It was just kind of like, okay, checkbox, we're done. Aside from that, it's pretty much just the same as the first season, except maybe like a little bit more flanderized. Like, the princess is much easier to break with the quote-unquote torture in this season. Like, she just kind of gives up almost immediately a lot of the time. If you haven't seen my take on the first season, I think that was a fall season at some point. I don't remember when, I think. It's sometime a couple years ago. But pretty much everything I said about it back then holds up now. The gag is funny, but it does get old after a while. There is sort of a cloying sweetness to some of it that's a little too schmarmy. The characters are all extremely cute. A lot of very cute girls in this. Love the character designs for this. Animation's really solid. There's really nothing I could point out that's, like, quote-unquote wrong with it. And it's got this very fluid bounciness to it. Like, I keep forgetting that this isn't a Doga Kobo show because it reminds me of something that they would make. Or maybe just because I keep thinking of Sleeping Princess in the Demon's Castle. Because kind of similar premise. Well, vaguely similar. Similar setting, let's put it that way. And yeah, it's just, there's really nothing wrong with it except for the fact that the joke got old. It did not keep itself fresh, and now it's just starting to stagnate. So, I'm not going to finish it for the sake of finishing it. It's just unfortunate that I didn't make it all the way through. Alright, very unfortunate, but Torture Princess Season 2 is coming off the list. What a shame. Alright, next up is Himitsu no AiPri. This is one of those long-running idol franchises, magical girl franchises, one of those two, that I just really haven't touched on until now, and I'm throwing this one on the list because the next season has a completely new round of main characters, so for all intents and purposes, the current run of AiPri is ending, so I guess now is a good time to jump in and see what it's all about. Oh no, that's a little too wacky for my blood. I think I got about halfway through the first episode of Himitsu no AiPri, Secret AiPri. That's my biggest complaint, is it's very loud and very wacky, especially with the clumsiness of it all. Character designs are fine, but not particularly stand out. Honestly, I really didn't even get that far into the premise to even say what it's even about. But, like, the humor is just, it's grating. I really don't have anything else to say other than that, because that's just so front of mind when I think about this. It's rough. Okay, yeah, I'm not having any of that. Himitsu no AiPri off the list. Next, Yuukawa. I believe this is an abbreviated version. I think this is the one about, I think it's an isekai with I might be a harem as well. I think is this the one about confessed to cute girl in my party or something? I'm not sure. Let's find out. I don't really get where this one is going, but it's also not interesting enough and not good looking enough for me to really care. I got a little over halfway through the first episode of a show that I'm not even gonna try to say the full title of, but yeah, it's extremely mediocre looking. The action scene in the first half was super boring. In fact, most of it was super boring. Guy gets isekai'd into like a demon general's body. Not even a demon general, just sort of a demon foot soldier really, but he's super OP, but he doesn't want to become the Demon Lord because that's a hassle to him. But he also doesn't want to work for the Demon Lord, so he's just kind of trapped there. And then he just changes his mind when he sees a hot girl, like, in the hero's party. It's so lame and boring. Like, also, he's like, I don't want to kill the Demon Lord because they'll just make me the Demon Lord anyway. It's like, well, if you're as OP as you say, you can just leave. Like, they're not going to keep you there. So what? So why does it matter? Just kill the Demon Lord and fucking leave? It's boring and mid-looking. Like, the girl isn't even that hot. She is just standard healer archetype cute girl. Boring. So boring and mediocre. Ugh. Okay, Yuukawa off the list. That was really lame. Okay. The Darwin Incident is next. This got a huge amount of hype for basically the entire time since the anime was announced up until it started broadcasting. And then it started airing and nobody gave a fuck. So, that tells me a lot about this show. Well, we'll give it a try anyway. I know it's about it's sort of a Planet of the Apes thing, but more societal commentary. Yeah, let's give it a go. So I have a lot of questions raised by the premise of this show. Some that I'm sure the show will answer, some that I'm sure the show will not answer. But honestly, it's so ugly looking that I don't really care. Like, this is an absolutely mediocre production mediocre at best. There's some absolutely horrendous CG. Just straight up, like, continuity errors. Like, there's the shot where Charlie is walking away after he saves Lucy from falling out of the tree. You can see him holding his shoes since he took his shoes off to climb. And ain't no way his big ass feet are fitting in them tiny ass shoes. Like, not even fucking close in terms of, like, the size difference. So, like, no attention to detail at all in this. Character designs in general are not pleasant to look at. They definitely go for something a little more realistic looking instead of, like, something more moe. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're good or interesting looking. They just look kind of ugly. And I'm also not to say that just because they're not moe means they look ugly. Like, there's plenty of shows that are not moe and have more realistic designs for their human characters that aren't ugly. This is not one of them. This show is ugly. But also, if you've seen this whole show, let me know if these questions have been answered in this show. Like, why is the monkey going to school without an escort? That seems unbelievably ill-advised. There's no way that any country would ever allow that for the first interspecies human-chimpanzee hybrid. That child would be guarded 24/7. Doesn't matter if they want to do something more, if they want him to live a more natural lifestyle amongst humans to see, like, how he functions within a group of humans. Because A, that's too dangerous, and B, it doesn't matter because he's not going to get the human experience anyway because he's a walking sideshow. Obviously. I'm sure there's a bully arc in this at some point. And that's going to be annoying. What else? Also, he's part chimpanzee. How would we know whether or not he could get violent with people if people anger him? Like, have they tested that out before? Why would you not tell us that right at the start? There's so many questions being raised about this that I just don't... that it just becomes a little annoying with how little information is given. But above all else, it's not a good-looking show. It's just not fun to look at. And for the medium of animation, that's a pretty big fucking deal. So, I'm gonna pass on this one. Okay, Darwin Incident coming off the list. Next is Chitose is in the Ramune bottle. This one was supposed to be a fall season show, but production just completely fell apart, I think, and so they pushed the last few episodes until March of this year. So, should be all finished up now. I've heard about the light novel for this for years, and also I've heard it's got some questionable content in it, but we'll see if I even make it to that point. Let's see what this show is all about. Oh, man, I do not like the dialogue and monologue style in this show. It is annoying. It is so... Oh, sorry. I don't usually like throwing the word pretentious around because to say that something is pretentious is to understand its intention as well. But this feels so pretentious about, the wistfulness of youth and its fleeting nature and how volatile it is and fucking yada yada. I don't care. There's that part of it. And then there's also, this intro section is so fucking lazy. Like, as he's going around, like, introducing all the guys, like, this is this friend, she's this characteristic, and she does this, and in monologue form, by, like, internal monologue, like, she has this personality, but also sometimes she's like this. Here's this guy, he's the jock character, and he's so-and-so like this. And it's like, fucking lazy. It's so incredibly lazy how they are setting up these characters as if we couldn't fucking tell from how they act and their character designs. It's so unbelievably obvious how all of them, what archetype all of them are just from their fucking acting style and their character design. But no, they had to just go ahead and explain it in internal monologues as well. And another fucking double-length episode. For fuck's sake. You know what? I will say, though, I think, at least up until now, we've been on a pretty good streak with double-length episodes in terms of, like, for this season, in terms of shows that deserve a double-length episode. Like, we had Shiba Yuki and Sentenced to be a Hero both had double-length episodes. And both of those were really fucking incredible double-length episodes. Arguably, both of those shows' double-length episodes were the best episodes of the series. Arguably. say one way or the other for each of them. But, I think I would blow my brains out if I finished this entire double-length episode. I hate the main character so far. I don't find him endearing or charming at all. I find him to just be an annoying little prick. I don't like having personality traits explained to me in list form in a monologue in the first 5 fucking minutes of the show for 8 different characters. And honestly, I'm not a huge fan of the character designs. They are super generic. Relatively clean and crisp in terms of the art style, but it's also like very washed out. It's got a bit of a blue tinge to it. So on the one hand it makes it stand out, but on the other hand it also makes it a little bit more drab feeling. And like drained of color almost. Like whitewashed, I guess. Like not in the sense of like literally making it more whitish and bluish. Yeah, I don't vibe with this one at all. It's just kind of annoying. Alright, Chitose coming off the list. Didn't like that. Alright. We are down to 5 shows remaining for the season. So, next is A Misanthrope Teaches a Class for Demi-Humans. Yeah, it kind of says it right in the title. I think I saw a clip of the OP or the ED or something for this show, and it looked really fun. That says nothing about the show, but I liked what was that Demi-chan one? I forget what the Interview with Monster Girls. If it's anything like that, maybe this one will be pretty okay. Yeah, that's completely and totally average. Just straight 5 out of 10 across the board on just about everything. Everything is just... I really don't have anything to say other than it is a perfectly average school comedy about demi-humans. And I think the only reason that I had any interest in it whatsoever is I just really like cute demi-human anime girls. That's one of my check mark boxes, I guess. In particular, like this stuff, like demi-human school with cute demi-human girls. That's just right up my alley, I guess. And the girls are in fact cute. They're not the best character designs, but they're not bad by any stretch. Again, they're just completely and totally average. I like the bird girl the best, probably. Everyone else is just fine. The misanthropy of our main character is not particularly grating or annoying, but also we got through the entire first episode without learning why he hates humans. Just vague hints at an incident that happened at his last job. Yeah, it's all completely, utterly average. Just so average. And, yeah. That's it. Okay, Misanthrope off the list, unfortunately. Next up, AnimeJapan Awards. This is something that just sort of came out at the very end of March. It's a I believe it's a series of short, of web shorts from like upcoming animators, I think. I'm not entirely sure. I should probably read up on that before I dive in. But if they're all like relatively short episodes, I could probably
binge all of these. So let's see what it's got in store.
Okay, so apparently these are a bunch of student films. Uh, I shouldn't say more than that because then I would just be making fun of student films or overly critiquing student films. But yeah, unless you are like a uber animation enjoyer, there's nothing for you here. I didn't even finish all of them. I got through 4 of the 7 shorts. The first one is just like a 10-minute thing about a cops trying to chase a guy who's eluding them, and they just kind of suck at it. And their new recruit goes off on them for being bumbling idiots. And then they reconcile in the end, I guess. Like, plot aside, it's also not particularly fun to look at. The character designs are very flat and simplified for the sake of animation. Again, I shouldn't... It's student film level animation. That's what you're getting here. Personally, that's not something I'm interested in seeing. That's just me. And even if it was, there wasn't a whole lot here worth seeing. Like, the second episode was just a 45-second promo for Aichi Prefecture, I think, which also featured cops, which after 2 episodes I'm like, is the theme cops for this one? What? But then the third episode was about an office worker. It was a no dialogue short about an office worker who kind of just wants to escape from the office grind and do music. And the animation is almost Western in a sense. I would argue it is. And also, I noticed all of this text was in English. So that, except for the credits. So it's clearly, not, it might be even set in America. I don't know. But the animation is not my cup of tea. It's very cartoony, but also not frame heavy either. So it's kind of got the worst of both styles of animation. Where it's like you have the Western style character designs, but with anime frame count. So, oh well. What was the fourth one? Right, the fourth one was the closest to having an interesting story. I think it's about a guy... I don't actually know what it's about. I think it's about a guy... I think it's about a guy trying to commit suicide in space. Like, there's a space disaster, and he goes to where the wreckage is, and he's about to, take his helmet off, and then, the spirits of the dead stop him from doing that. So... at least that had some, solid emotion behind it. But also the animation is not super interesting. It's all grayscale. And character design isn't that great. Yeah, I guess this is a dead dove do not eat kind of scenario. I don't know what I was expecting from student films. I guess when I think of animation awards, I guess I don't know. For some reason I had the Young Japan Animators training project stuck in my head. Or whatever that one was called. Which had some really, really, really good animation in it, but those were full 25-minute episodes of things. So, yeah, yeah, that's really it. I didn't bother finishing it because I didn't see the point.
Okay, Anime Japan Awards off the list. Next. Oedo Fire Slayer, The Legend of Phoenix. All I know about this one is that it's full CG and had a really low score, despite the fact that the key visuals were 2D, if I recall correctly. And I think it's a period piece based on the clothing. I know literally nothing else, and I know no one who watched it, but let's give it a shot anyway.
Oh yeah, that is some comically bad CG. Not good, not good, not good, not good, not good. Terrible face animations and expressions. Terrible character acting. Like there's this little girl running around and she's just like, the movements don't make any sense. Looks like a fucking creature. It's bad. It's all bad. It seems like this is some kind of firefighting show, but maybe with a supernatural element. Not quite Fire Force, but something trending in that direction. Something that looks like it was inspired by Fire Force. Maybe. Not 100% sure, but doesn't matter because it looks fucking terrible.
Alright, get this fucking thing out of here. Oedo Fire Slayer off the list. 2 left. First is the Holy Grail of Eris. I think I only saw one person talk about this on my timeline, and it's a person who basically watches everything. But like positively, I guess. In any case, I know nothing about it at all. So I guess I'm about to find out what it's about. Let's see if you're a sleeper hit.
I think I meant to say hidden gem instead of sleeper hit, but in any case, neither of them matches because this is very plain and drab and boring and slow. I think I understand where it's going. A witch that little girl sees executed shows up 10 years later and is probably going to help her navigate noble life through deceit and cunning, I imagine. Probably. Also, I liked the pun. I did like the pun in the name. The Holy Grail of Eris, and the last name of the main character is Grail. So, good pun, but, or good wordplay, I guess, but not pun. Good wordplay. But, animation's very plain and average. I saw the betrayal plot coming from 87,000 miles away. Like, okay, it's like the interloper cheating character, her friend has like this hairpin that's falling out, so Grail is like, oh, let me fix that for you. Or maybe should I just hold on to it for you? And she's like, yeah, sure. And then she looks over at another guy who's like looking awkwardly at her and stuff. And it's like, okay, well, she's about to get framed for stealing the hairpin. It's super fucking obvious. Boring. Same as the main character's personality. Boring. She's just kind of nothing. She is kind, I guess. Also, there was a scene earlier where she was talking with her friends, and this one character's like, hey, I saw your husband. You know your fiance is like cheating on you hardcore, right? I'm like, damn. Tact, ma'am. Tact. Yeah, this one is just not interesting at all.
Alright. Holy Grail of Eris, not so interesting. Coming off the list, which means we just have one show left from the winter season, Journal with Witch. I've heard tremendous things about this show. I believe this is just a straightforward drama series with some tremendous directing and artwork. Taking a bit of a gamble of having this be the very last show of the season, with it being a new title, but it is, I think, the highest rated title of the, well, no, second highest rated after Free Run from the summer, or from the winter season this year. But you know what? We ball.
Whew. Did I inadvertently end up saving the best for last? I guess that's a question I'll answer over the next 15 to 20 minutes or more, probably. Okay, just finished up Journal with Witch. What an incredibly compelling drama. A josei drama at that. Man, the josei do be hitting when it actually gets a proper production behind it. But in a way, this is a little... I realized as I was going through this, when I was looking up other josei series, and one of the other ones that I came across was Usagi Drop, which has a pretty similar starting premise of child's parents die, so someone in the family looks after them. Completely different in every other... Well, not completely different, but very different in every other aspect. Although it's been a really long time since I've seen Usagi Drop. It's got to have been at least a decade or so. But, yes, this is a story about a teenage girl losing her parents and moving in with her mother's sister, her aunt, who is a very gruff, socially awkward novelist, and the incredibly complex emotions that spawn from that, and varying in intensity from just like aimless loneliness and stagnation to just very, very heartbreaking, like deep sadness of loss, and just trying to figure out how to move on from this tragedy, and also what is being left to you in the aftermath, I guess, because there's a lot of this series centers around Asa, our main character, trying to figure out what exactly all the people in her life think of her, in particular her parents, and sort of sorting through the complicated emotions of how her parents, in particular her mother, raised her, and in the case of her father, how he kind of didn't raise her, really, and he was just this sort of void kind of guy. And just sorting through the things that her parents left her or didn't leave her, and see how she has to pick up the pieces, especially now that she is living with someone who is absolutely not going to just straight up give her the answers to what she wants, and B, has her own problems herself and is not necessarily equipped to take care of a teenager, but has enough moral fiber within her to just refuse to see this girl passed around amongst relatives that don't really want her. and just sort of taking on the responsibility of that I can't let this happen, so she is coming with me now. So that makes me wonder, is there like a... I guess there really... I don't know, because I've seen this happen in like multiple anime at this point, and it makes me wonder how like that works in real like Japanese society, because like here in the US it's just so, as far as I know, it's just sort of like okay, you have a legal godparent that should take care of you if something happens. Like, that's sort of designated fairly early on. Unless that's just like a Catholic thing, because I was raised Catholic and I've had a set of godparents my whole life. But I don't actually know how that works, really. They don't really dive into that, but they do actually get into like some of the stuff that's not necessarily covered in a lot of anime, which is sort of in terms of the legal sense of like we actually have like a attorney character who shows up on behalf of the state to represent Asa and make sure that she is taken care of, which leads to a sort of like mini confrontation with Makio, the author/aunt character, sort of revealing her to be someone who gets easily overwhelmed by intense social interactions, which is extremely relatable. I see a tremendous amount of myself in Makio, especially the parts where she finds loneliness relaxing. Like, that is me, like, to a T. Just being completely alone by myself is one of the most relaxing things that I can do. And then we see a lot of the conflict come up with the fact that Asa is not like that at all, and can, especially post losing her parents, is someone who is extremely prone to loneliness in the negative sense and sort of needs company and needs other people around her. And so there's that tension there between these two not necessarily polar opposite personalities, but personalities that are opposites in that particular aspect. And just seeing them work through those issues with Makio, understanding that she is still a teenager who needs to learn things, but also B, respecting her as an individual and not just sort of taking complete control of the situation and be like, okay, well, you need to do this and this is how you feel and you should try and do things like this and so on and so. She's much more hands off in that sense, and just does not want to tell Asa what to do or how to feel at all, because she sees that as being bad for her and her recovery. Meanwhile, Asa is just like, please fucking tell me anything, something. I need to get a grip on things. And so we see the big conflict there. And just incredibly well planned out, well structured, and well acted. Alright, I gotta grab my phone again because I forgot who this voice actress is. I know Miyuki Sawashiro plays Makio, the aunt, in this, and this is like Sawashiro's finally getting into the age range where she's just more playing older characters. Although she did play Oscar in the Rose of Versailles anime from last year, but how old is Miyuki Sawashiro at this point? Let's see, 85. So she's 8 years old. So she's in her 40s now. But in any case, Asa, played by Fuko Mori, and this is basically her only named role, I think. Like, she's had bit parts in other anime, but this is definitely her biggest role so far, and she fucking crushed it. This is some incredibly phenomenal acting in the tone that she is able to emit based on different lines, and just sort of the spritiness of this teenage girl, and also the how lost she feels and how that comes out in her acting performance. I normally don't get a chance to talk a lot about acting when I do these little rambles, unless it's like either really, really good acting or really, really bad acting. And this is thankfully the former. Speaking of people who are not necessarily new to the industry, but new to roles that they are doing, this was directed by Miyuki Oshiro, and this is his directorial debut. And I watched the first episode, and I was like, the fuck do you mean this is his directorial debut? This is goddamn incredible. The editing in particular, and the way scenes of dialogue are layered on top of each other, both to either to enhance the lines that are being said or to create this sort of cacophony of information overload, or just the way that thoughts are weaved anachronistically, or I guess thoughts are weaved out of chronological order in order to create a complete thought out of all of those conversations, is just incredible. Phenomenal stuff. I don't know if that's in the original manga, because this is based on a manga. In fact, I don't actually know how far into the manga this gets, because it's a completed manga, but it's 11 volumes of manga, which is typically way more than a single season of anime adapts. So, if there is more to this story, I would definitely love to see it. But also, we have basically told the most important part of Asa's life, which is her slowly coming to terms with the fact that her parents are dead and they cannot give her any more answers to anything. And that a lot of thoughts are just going to be left as questions, like whether or not Asa's mother truly loved her, or just sort of went with the flow of things. Personally, I think she did, but she just was not able to properly express that. But that's just my particular reading of it. I could see a lot of different readings of this, because the mother character gets incredibly interesting the more we learn about her, and the more that other characters learn about her. Like, we learn, like, Makio has a lot of moments where she's like, that doesn't sound like my sister at all. And this is like someone that she like hates. Like, she had a sort of falling out with her sister at some point and really didn't keep up with her. And then she dies, and now she's taking care of her daughter, and now she's learning through Asa so many things about her sister that she never knew, and is struggling with the recontextualization of all that. Meanwhile, Asa is also learning things about her mother that she never knew, and is struggling with that recontextualization. There's like one particular line, it's like the naming, there's a line in Asa's mother's journal about why she picked the name Asa, and to be like, so that she will be loved by everyone, like the morning sun, Asa. And when it's just read in the context of just reading the journal that is supposed to be left to Asa for when she turns 20, it's this very nice, hopeful and wholesome kind of line. But then when you learn more about her mother's backstory, about how she was just sort of absolutely terrified of not fitting in and standing out too much and going against the flow and against the grain, it reads completely differently, like someone who is terrified that their child is not going to fit in, and so is desperately trying to do all in her power to make sure that she fits in and doesn't stick out. And so I think the truth of it is probably somewhere in the middle of that. But again, we will never truly know, because the mom is dead. She's not going to give any more explanations because she can't. And having to live with that, having to live with incomplete information for the rest of your life, is a very, it's a very heavy idea, and just very, it's not something that's very easy to accept. It's something that's extremely difficult to be like, well, I guess that's just how things are now. And seeing Asa essentially crash out over that and essentially throw tantrums about it is very heartbreaking in a sense, but also it's like all of the teenage angst in this is like 110% justified by the situation, not just because dead parents, but because it's a teenager who is not being given the answers that she desperately thinks that she needs, and having to navigate that through other relatives and friends and just teachers and other people that she meets in her life, and how she comes to terms with that, makes this series incredibly compelling. And again, through huge part to the fantastic directing, the editing, layering over of conversations, and the desert imagery, the desert as representative of loneliness. And then we have, like, there's a shot of Makio within Asa's desert mindscape where she just sort of represents like this oasis, this place to rest and replenish through verbal communication, I guess. And also, Makio is just very, very, very author-brained in a sense, where it's like she uses a lot of very complicated, not complicated, but very wordy monologues and dialogues to convey her point. And sometimes Asa is just like in regular Japanese, please. What the fuck does that mean? But yeah, aside from Asa coming to terms with her mother's death, I also really loved the core through line of Asa and Makio learning how to interact with each other and what they need from each other in order to live and grow appropriately, because it's not just Asa that needs to grow. Like, Makio is an adult who still has a lot of issues that she has to work through in terms of her social awkwardness. Not hugely debilitating, but just minor little quirks that, through interacting with Asa, become, like, beneficial to her life. In particular, like, being able to reconnect with her former lover, Kasamachi. Which, by the way, the ending of episode 6, that those shots are really, really hot. That's good stuff. And the animation and artwork in general is really solid. This is not a series that moves a lot. A lot of it's not stagnant, but it is not a Sakuga fest by any means, even in terms of the character acting. Which I think the director actually said in an interview once, where he's like, he doesn't want to make a series that's full of hyperfluidity and stuff. He doesn't want the animation to become less special, which he has a point, because there are definitely times in some big action spectacles like Jujutsu Kaisen and Chainsaw Man where I looked at it and just eventually it just became white noise, because everything was moving so much, so fast, for so long, that it became a little less special. And B, it's a nice way to be very economical about your anime productions. You're not going to have extensive, low-quality scenes. Like, there was really only one shot I saw in this that I would say was of questionable quality. Not even just like a, ooh, that's rough. Just sort of like a, could have been like just a little, could have been composited just a little bit better. But it was like one shot out of all 13 episodes. I love the color palette for this. A lot of tans and dark blues and stuff. Character designs are absolutely gorgeous, very clean, but also very simple. There's not a ton of line work to them, but they also don't feel overly simplistic. They still feel very sturdy and well detailed in terms of their construction. The framing and the shot composition is always on point. And just the prolonged periods of like the loneliness metaphor with the desert, and just the way Asa is framed in those shots, and just the sort of the 1,000-mile stare she is giving in some scenes is just very unnerving at points. Just seeing her lose herself in her loneliness was a little chilling at times, in the sense of like, oh, she's not doing well. This is, I feel for her. Also, a Kensuke Ushio score, which I called like a few minutes in. I was like, this sounds like Liz and the Bluebird. Actually, yeah, that is the closest soundtrack, I think, in terms of Kensuke Ushio's oeuvre that I could relate this to. Although it's also got a little bit more comedy to it, or I guess relaxed fun. Like, there's this one sort of like everyday life track that has like a trombone line in it. Or it has a trombone as a prominent part of it that's like just sort of It's like just ever so slightly wacky. And I was like, oh, this is fun. Give this a nice little flavor that I'm not used to with Ushio's scores. But it also still has the very obvious Ushio-isms with these very minimalistic piano lines that are very crisp and ringing and echoey, with a little bit of like electronicness in how it's manipulated. This is a nice breath of fresh air after hearing a lot of Ushio scores that are really good scores, but not necessarily stand out, I guess. Yeah. This was really damn good. And it's not even like all of the side characters. All of them have these very, very engaging little troubles that they are working through. Like Asa's friend Emiri, and her working through the fact that she doesn't really want to get married or have a boyfriend, and Makio helping her through that by showing her fucking Fried Green Tomatoes, the movie, which I have not seen, but I know is a very well-liked movie. And it's sort of, I believe it's implied that Emiri gets a girlfriend at some point. It's only through, like, imagery of, like, her, like, holding hands with a girl and being very close with her. So I think that's what it's going for. And it's, which sort of feeds into the, like, the idea of, like, it's okay to not be, quote-unquote, normal. Normal really doesn't mean anything. You just have to be what you want to be. Which is also a through line with Asa's character as well. Yeah, the whole cast for this was pretty fun. I even liked Emiri's mom a lot, and her interactions with Makio as she tries to see what kind of parent Makio is going to be. Sort of. Yeah, this was just really something special. It's toss-up between this and the new Oshinoko for best show of the season. I think I'm leaning towards this one. It's just so incredibly moving and captivating, and I truly felt for all of these characters across a wide span of situations. This is this is the real emotional meat and potatoes series for this season. Like, we had our big action spectacles, we had our fun little comedies, we had our lovey-dovey romance series, and we had our, like, our big melodramatic thrillers and stuff. This one is just the complex, the very complexly seasoned entree that fills you completely. I feel full.
All right. Journal with Which is complete. Damn good show. And you know what? Yeah, we are putting you in the number 1 spot for the season with a light 9. That is the really good shit. Really phenomenal drama. If you liked stuff like Rakugo Shinju or Usagi Drop, this is definitely the show for you. And with that, we have completed the winter 2026 season. 19 anime completed, which puts it right at my expected maximum for the season, which is wild. Did not think I would actually hit that. I think I also made this number before the Evangelion special came out, but that's neither here nor there. So that's a lot of stuff finished from the winter season. Most of them TV series, as a matter of, or at least full series, because it's like we got I think there's only 2 movies in here, or no, 3 movies. And they're all, nope, sorry, 4 movies. Quite a few movies actually. So we got 4 movies, 1 special, and then Watanare was only like 5 episodes. And then everything else was a TV series. So like 13 TV series, I think, completed. So really, really solid season. That's a lot of good stuff. And just a whole lot of spread to it, too. Some stuff, not so good. But otherwise, a lot of cool things to think about. But in any case, winter's over, which means that it's time to start thinking about the next season. We got our list here as of right now. I'm sure that list will change in time by the time we get to that in about 3 months. Well, 2 months by the time this video comes out, probably, or even less. But that's for a later date. As for now, my name is Ember, and I'll see you next time.